Church. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carmen Lo. And last summer, I had the privilege of serving on the VBS ministry at the University Presbyterian Church at Jane and Finch for 4 days. I don't know if you can skip to the next slide. So I served along with a couple other members of our church. And the theme for last year's VBS was love. And on the first day, Sally and I had our group brainstorm what love meant to them. And so our mission really was to just spend time with the children, share stories with them, eat with them, and just by that, just to give them love, to show love. But just spending 4 short days there, I realized that our mission and our calling was just way beyond that. Within the first half hour we were there, they were already hugging us, they were hanging on to us, they were holding our hands, they were telling us about their family, their friends, and we weren't strangers to them. We were always welcomed every morning with smiles on their faces, and it was a blessing to see the same children come back every morning, new faces come, and they were always just so welcoming to us, and you can tell that our presence there was really appreciated, and they really enjoyed our presence. But I really only have 5 minutes to share 4 long, awesome days. So if someone were to ask me which part of VBS impacted me the most, I would have to say the story of Curtis. So this is Curtis. And at my station, I was in charge of indoor sports, and I had the clever idea of coming up with a game where the kids had to run to the wall as fast as they could. That was part of the game. And Curtis, he ended up tripping, and he fell against the wall, and he ended up having a huge bruise on his head. He actually fractured both of his wrists, and this was day 3. And at the time, I remember just being very emotional because Curtis was visiting his cousins. So he wasn't from Toronto. He was visiting with his sister, and he was staying with his aunt. And so when his aunt came, she was very emotional as well. And I remember just having to keep it together because I didn't want to scare the other kids and I didn't want to scare Curtis, but at the same time I felt very responsible. And going through my head, I was just like, well, what if we just didn't play that game? We should have just played hot potato. I felt so responsible. And I remember the image that stood out in my mind was all the other kids waving bye to Curtis as he left on the ambulance. And I remember breaking down, and this was day 3. But this is Curtis. If you go to the next slide. Coming back the next day with 2 casts on, and it was water games. The very last day we went outside and we had water sports, and Jess, she wrapped Curtis's casts in plastic bags so they wouldn't get wet. The other kids offered to help him fill up his water gun. They wrote him cards, they made him paper airplanes. The staff at UPC, they offered to babysit Curtis's sister and cousins while the aunt dealt with the hospital and all that. But, I mean, we met Curtis literally 3 days ago, and some of the children, well, all the children actually met Curtis 3 days ago. And I witnessed just so much love from them. And personally for me at the time, I was just coming out to church, and when I was called to serve for UPC, I didn't think that I was ready to lead and to be a good role model. But just despite being called there to love the children, and I remember preparing for lessons. I was so ready to make a difference and to just give all the love that I could, but I really do believe that God had a bigger plan for me, that despite being called there to love the children, I left being shown more love than anything else. And Curtis was a trooper. He came back with 2 casts in his arms, and he wouldn't want to miss it for the world. And so my hope for the children at UPC is really to carry on this love to the community, to their families at home, and just to know that by doing so, they're also loving God. And I really do encourage, for those of you interested in volunteering, to really pray about it and to think about it, because I know that for me, I'm guilty, and I can testify that I'm always the one to say, oh, I'm too busy to go on mission trips, or I don't have time. But UPC was 4 days, and what I got out of it was just way more than I thought I could ever give back. And so if you're interested in signing up, please talk to Pastor Angie. I'll be at the back if you have any more questions. But I really do hope that I really do believe that you will feel God's love just as much as I did through the children at UPC.